Hi Ducks, how are you? It's been a while. Got some news, but I'm going to share that in another video. It's kind of good news, but it doesn't explain a few things. Well, it does to me, but it doesn't to other people. So this video is titled, I Called It. Well, it's titled, Called It, sort of. So, back in 2 weeks out from the end of October 2024 this year, I decided on the radio show Spectrum, the show that I do with Danny and Mabel, that I was going to call two elections that were coming up at the end of October and the beginning of November. So that was the Tory party leadership elections and the general election, the presidential election in America. So I said on the radio show that I believed Kemi Bad Enoch, was going to win the leadership of the Tory party, and she did. I thought it was a good call, although a lot of people at the time in the media and stuff were predicting that Generic was going to win it, but I thought the membership would go with Kemi Badenoch, and that's how it transpired. The second prediction I made on the radio station, on the show, on Spectrum, was that Trump was going to win the presidential election. Now, back in 2016, on the Fresh Brew podcast that I used to host with my two brothers, my late brother Matt and my brother Chrissy Spud, I predicted in about it was about 2 weeks out from the presidential election in 2016, I predicted that Trump was going to win that. Now, the reason why I made that prediction was because, and I believe I was one of the first people anywhere in media to make that prediction. I think the next person who made that prediction was Michael Moore, and I think he made it about 2 weeks out from the presidential election. But most people in America and in this country were saying that Clinton was going to win it. She was far ahead in the polls. The reason why I made the prediction that Trump was going to win was because I was looking at all the polls. It was basically based on the polls, but I was looking at all the polls, and it seemed to me that because the vote was within the error of margin on the polls, within the 5% of the error margin, I thought Trump was going to win it because it was in the error of margin. And I felt that Clinton, she was too unpopular. She was seen as an establishment candidate, and I just felt that went against her. And she wasn't electioneering properly anyway. She didn't really go to any of the swing states, and she wasn't talking on a platform of change or diversity in the sense of changing the system, making the country better than it already was. She was a status quo candidate. It wasn't because she was a woman. I thought America was ready for a female president. I just thought she was too much an establishment candidate. She was too in the establishment, and the baggage she had from the Clinton name and the basis she had in the Democratic Party was not in her favour. So I was convinced Trump was going to win it, and he did. Why did I call it this time around? Well, the reason why this video is called Sort of at the end of the title was because I thought Trump was going to win it because, again, the polling was within the error of margin, and I thought he had a better chance of winning. Now, on the radio show, I said to Mabel, I believed Trump was going to win the Electoral College but lose the popular vote, like he did in 2016. Clinton got the popular vote, but she lost the Electoral College. She didn't get the 270 to get over the mark in the Electoral College. That was where I was wrong. Trump won the popular vote, but his base always turns out for him. Now, Trump's base is about 75 million people in America, give or take a few hundred or so. It's about 75 million. And that's basically what he got. He basically got slightly the same number as he got last time in 2020. Kamala Harris got about, I think it was 3,000 less. It was around that ballpark, about a few votes less. Well, I'm not sure. I think Trump got about 75, 76 million votes, and Kamala Harris came in at 73, 74 million votes. Now, what happened? Well, she didn't win the popular vote. Why didn't she win the popular vote? Trump's base turned out for him, but now the figures are in, we can ascertain that about 7 million voters who originally voted for Biden in 2020 didn't turn out for Kamala Harris. They stayed at home. So Harris didn't get the same votes that Biden got. Don't do that, Gav. She got less votes than Biden did. So she didn't get the Electoral College, and she won none of the swing states. So she couldn't really pull out the bag and get anywhere near the Electoral College. Whereas Trump's base turned out for him, like we knew they were going to, and he was able to pick up the swing states. So I was right about who would win, but I was wrong about the eventual outcome. Now, why didn't Kamala Harris win? Trump's base is full of people, on the whole, give or take people from diverse communities, immigrant and migrant communities, and diverse communities in America who voted for him. Those populations were quite small. A lot of people were predicting the black vote was going to come out for Trump on the whole, but it didn't. It still stayed mainly Democratic. The Hispanic vote for Trump went slightly up, but it wasn't as high as a lot of journalists were predicting. But most people thought Kamala Harris, they thought Harris was going to win it, like they did with Clinton. But as I say, Trump's base is solid and they turned out for him. I think the reason why Kamala didn't do as well, I think to some degree her race and her gender played a role. A lot of white women in America turned out for Trump and didn't vote for Kamala. I think that was due to her race, and white men on the whole turned out for Trump and didn't vote Democrat. That's not unusual in America, as FC Signifier has pointed out on his latest video. America is a very divided racist country, and a lot of the white vote go for white cis men. So in retrospect, Harris didn't really have much of a chance, which is really sad to say. You would have thought she would have a better chance. I just think America is deeply racist when it comes to its white population. That's not all of them. It's not every white person in America, but I think a lot of them, I think a majority of them do hold racist and gender-based ideas that go against progressive narratives. The other thing is, a lot of the swing states that were up for grabs tend to vote Republican anyway. So Trump was already over the line before the election was called. I think another factor that played into the election was the war in the Middle East, especially what is many people say is a genocide, and what I think to some degree at the bare minimum is an ethnic cleansing, coupled with a genocide going on in Gaza. I think that 7 million or so votes that came out for Biden couldn't put a cross in the box for somebody who was supporting what was going on in the Middle East, in Gaza. I don't think they felt they could vote for her. So basically this 7 million, they stayed at home. A lot of the electorate who turned out for Biden sat on their hands. They didn't vote for the Green Party candidate Jill Stein, who ran on an anti-genocide ticket. Jill Stein polled less than 1% of the vote in the elections. So there was no third party candidate that the population of America that would have voted Democrat were going to swing to. Some did, but not all of them. So the third party candidate was not really a factor in this election. I think I agree with FD Signifier. I do agree that there was a level of racism and sexism in this election, a slight bit of misogyny. And so Harris couldn't get over the line. And I think the white population, the Democrats only win when they galvanise their base. They didn't galvanise their base. A lot of the diverse communities that vote Democrat, as I say, didn't feel like they could come out. A lot of Muslim voters couldn't put a tick in the box for the Democrats, so rather than vote third party, they stayed at home. And Harris couldn't get over the line. What is Trump going to do? It's up in the air as to what he's going to do as president. There's a lot. There's Charters 2025. He may implement that. It's not looking good. The Western Hemisphere is slowly slipping into what a lot of people think is fascism, and it does look like fascism. I don't know where it ends, and a lot of YouTubers are saying, "Oh, we'll have the presidential election in 4 years' time." There's no guarantee that Trump is going to step down. There's a lot up in the air and a lot that needs to play out, and the situation in Ukraine needs to play out. I've watched a number of videos on this, and I think Trump is playing a clever game, and he's far cleverer than people give him credit for. If he plays it like he is at the moment with Ukraine, this may result not necessarily in the war ending in a ceasefire, but it may result in the collapse of the Russian state, because the Russian state is overheated in their war economy, and if the war ends, they have nothing to base their economy on. So Trump could be playing a clever game. It may look like he's going to appease Putin, but in the long run, it might not play out in Putin's favour. So, as I say, Kamala Harris couldn't get the same votes that Biden did. Biden got 85 million votes in the last 2020 general election. Trump polled 75 million votes in this general election in 2024, and he got about 75 million in 2020. His base turned out for him. The Democratic base did not, on the whole, turn out for the Democrats. And that is the fault of the Democrats. Trump ran on an anti-woke platform, but again, the Democrats never mentioned anything about woke politics. They never ran on a pro-trans or queer platform. They kept that very quiet and brushed under the carpet. And now that Trump has won, the Democrats are shifting further to the right to take the ground that Trump has ceded as he moves further to the right. And they're now starting to chuck queer and trans people under the bus and thinking we shouldn't run on this, we shouldn't give them any airtime. It wasn't a woke election. It was from the Democrats' point of view, but from the Republicans' point of view, but it wasn't from the Democrats. They didn't run on woke politics. But they run an awful campaign. They were late starting because they didn't have a primary, so the Democratic base couldn't choose their next leader. Kamala Harris in the primaries in 2020 couldn't even win her home state, so she had that going against her. In retrospect, all the signs that Kamala Harris was not going to win were there. It's just that I and many other journalists, I'm not a journalist, I'm a commentator, but a lot of people thought it was obvious that Kamala was going to win. Carl Kalinske thought so. I felt it was going to be Trump because it was in the era of margin. I thought Kamala Harris was going to win the popular vote, but I thought Trump would win on the Electoral College. But in the end, Trump won the popular vote, and the base for the Democrats didn't turn out. So that's what I called. So I kind of got it right, but I kind of got it wrong. Thanks for watching, ducks. Please like, share and subscribe, and I will see you again soon. Goodbye.